the limits, or the four limits, or the four limits of birth. So this is now the phenomena is born from self, born from other cause, without a cause, and this the way how the phenomena is born or produced, four limits of production, and that's one way of looking at it, one way of reasoning. But this is a little bit more subtle, and more complicated.
Ranjiji Madu Siate, Demar Madu Siate, Human, Rawando Madu, Sutu Madus, Chu Samalo, Ranzo Matu, Cheap Haten, Sudan, Yaten, Maten, Paten Shada Injur.
So when we say that the things do not exist inherently, Rangshinki Matupa means inherently, naturally or inherently. So that means they do not exist inherently by itself. Rather, they exist completely on the basis of interdependent relation. They are on all different, they exist on a completely interdependent relation of different parts and causes and so on. There's nothing which can exist by itself, inherently. It's like a triangle, like a pyramid made of three sticks. Like if you put three sticks, then they lean on each other, and it will form a pyramid. If we take one, then the pyramid will be destroyed, cannot stand. It's the same if we take another one, again the other two cannot stand. If one take one, the other two are they are subject to fall. So they are independent. They are completely, this is dependent on the other, that is dependent on this, and they are completely independent. And on the interdependent relation of three sticks, then a pyramid came to existence. So in the same way, all the phenomena that exist, wholesome, unwholesome, all types of phenomena that exist, they all exist depending on the imputation. They are all imputed. They are imputation of the name, the label which is given on it, and also the cognition which sort of apprehends, cognizes it. It all depends or exists on depending on those. And there's nothing which exists from itself by its own. For example, also the sizes, for example, big or small, or tall and short. And that tall, the so-called the tall, which is exists by compared to the small one, but if a still taller one comes, then this tall one, this previous tall one becomes again a small one, because a still much taller one has come. Is no more the tall. But if still a smaller one came, then he becomes again tall. So it is all interdependent. So everything exists in this way, depending on each other, in sort of comparison to each other. If a tall person exists inherently, then should be tall all time wherever he stands. Whoever he stands, he should remain tall. But it's not likely. And also, if you are standing on the side of a river, your side is this side of the river. On all these towns and villages and everything, the beach and everything, it's all on this side.
But
if you have crossed that river and you look back, this side is no more this side, but it has become that side. And that side has become this side. So therefore this side of the river, that side of the river also exists by sort of in relation to interdependent, depending on each other. So if this side or the other side, if it exists inherently, even you are on the other side, it should still be this side, and if you are on that side, if you come on this side, that still should be that side, and so on. So it should exist always in the same nature, but it always changes. So this first, before one worry about the shunyata or the refutation, negation of the inherent existence, all that, first we must recognize how we usually, or how we grasp and how we hold this self, this ego. What is our normal view of the ego? That we must make clear, and that's very important. So His Holiness said that there was a Lama in Tibet who was practicing this Je rite. It's a kind of tantric rite. He wasn't especially learned, a great scholar like that. He was a farmer before, and one time when he was plowing, he saw the animal so much suffering, and then he felt a sort of great compassion and repentance, and then he renounced the whole, his farmer life, and then he dedicated himself in the practice of Dharma and became sincere practitioner of Dharma, and he was always practicing Je and roaming around the country. So he was practicing Je. In the practice of Je is a method, scientific method, where one sort of completely dedicates one's body to all beings, and you sort of call even evil spirits or anything like this sort of to come and to attack you and to just tear you apart, and you just practice of great giving of your body, every in pieces, and give it to all. But there's a special meditation like that, and he was doing this practice. But he had not really clear understanding of this. First, the recognition of his own the normal self, and how really his ordinary view of the self. But he practiced this very sincerely. And so then he received, once he really was a good practitioner, and he received lots of interference of evil spirits and like this. They tried to interfere in his practice. They even showed various forms and very frightening forms and so on like this, and which became quite uncontrollable. First he was really asking them to come and to give away all his things, his body and everything. And then they came and they were quite a little bit too much sort of thing. And then it was quite overwhelming. And then he said, now maybe it's not, instead maybe I should generate myself into a real wrathful deity to sort of to counteract them. And he generated himself in the form of Hayagirva. It's a tantric deity. Instead of giving, continuing giving his body, he generated himself in the form of a very wrathful, powerful deity to attack them, to defend from them.
And it
didn't help his all these interference, like it less. Instead, it increased, and they became so powerful and so overwhelming. And they said, in 1 week, then you will finish with you. You will be gone in 1 week. They said time.
And it
Then he changed his mind. Now, if I'm going to since I'm going to die anyway in 1 week, there's no use of meditating myself in some wrathful deities or powerful deities or so on. Instead, I'd rather give or continue my practice and give as much as I can till I die, all this practice of dedication, practice of giving of his body and so on. So he did again Chö right, and very sincerely and faithfully he practiced the giving. And in the seventh night, then he had a real, very powerful, very sort of overwhelming experiences. And so these spirits showing so many fearful different forms, and they were sort of lifting up in the space and throwing him down on the ground. And then at that moment he thought, now I'm finished. Now when he was thrown down on the ground, he thought, now it's the end. Now I'm finished, completely finished. And he decided like that, and then he wasn't completely finished. And he started to touch, and he was still living, sort of alive. So he got a little bit confused. What's going on here? Then I thought I've been completely destroyed and smashed and completely destroyed by the spirit, but I seem to still exist. And at that moment he has realized shunyata. Because when he encountered all those fearful appearances, then great fear and the great fear has arisen in his mind, and that gave him a very clear sort of picture, very clear sort of introduction to his usual ego, how he was grasping this ego. That gave him a very great chance. And when he was completely smashed on the ground, then he realized this ego is now gone completely. It has become non-existent, and that's the moment where he realized shunyata. And after he started touching himself, and he still found something moving, which is still tangible, and also the spirit's interference are all gone, has become peaceful, very calm, nothing happened, and there he has realized the relative existence of this self. So this, but anyway, this is not the moment to speak about the Chö right and all that. So about the shunyata also, one cannot complete all the explanation and cannot give really a very precise and complete teaching about shunyata in a short time. One must learn this continuously for a long time. However, this was a very short introduction. If you keep it in mind and think about this, think on it, this may also help you contribute something for your understanding. Also maybe it will be some guideline in your understanding or a search for the shunyata. So, and then what is most important, instead of in our level, instead of trying to grab something which is very, very, very powerful, very high, anuttara tantric, the highest state of generation, state of completion and all that, instead of that, if one practice sincerely what is right in front of us, what is suitable to us, then one will make the progress very smoothly, and then one will achieve also those higher goals successfully sometime. And so we should eat the food which fits to the size of our mouth. So principally one should develop the bodhicitta motivation. Always the practice of Tantra is not something to be left aside completely. One must, this is a rare chance. We have obtained such a precious human rebirth with all the qualities. This is a time to begin the practice of Tantra. So one must begin the practice of Tantra. But one's principal effort must be put in the development of bodhicitta. And on the basis of this development of bodhicitta, one should practice the Tantra and fulfill one's commitments of the practice of Tantra, and for example, to complete the retreat and all this kind of do as precise and as complete as one can. And one should also generate the wish or the prayer sincerely from heart to attain the state of full enlightenment through the skillful method of the tantric path, to attain the state of full enlightenment and help all sentient beings as soon as possible. This wish, the prayer, we should always keep and generate from our heart. His Holiness's father was His Holiness's father is a yogi. He was a yogi of a Nyingma tradition. He was a tantrika. His mother's father was also a Nyingma yogi. He had few relatives who were also Nyingma yogis. But His Holiness didn't himself follow that tradition, or that the Nyingma tradition of the Tantra. But this doesn't mean that he is despising, or he is saying that tradition or Nyingma Tantra has no value. All the traditions in Tibetan Buddhism, Nyingma, Sajja, Gilu, Kagyu, they are all a method, they are all a way to achieve, leading to the same goal, to achieve the enlightenment, Buddhahood. Although they are all good, but we cannot mix everything all up. One cannot practice all the traditions, all the spiritual paths. One cannot practice all in one together, mixed. For example, we eat generally, we always eat food, and there are in general many different kinds of food.
Anakala Shimguresi, no check, TDL, Kanga looked in the Sajan, Samuel.
So in the shops or in the restaurants, there you can find plenty of eatable things. But if all those eatable things, if you buy all of them and mix them all into a pan, and then if you start eating, that will be quite a horrible thing. It can become something quite uneatable. So that although there are many different things, the different tastes, but choose the one what is suitable for your body, for your health, and take that and prepare it in the right way, correctly, in a clean way, in a right way, and to make a real good dish, and eat this in the right amount and everything. Then we will digest it, and this will help to keep maintain our health in life.
Rana Susi Chula, Dajecha. Chu Susan Lola Dua, Sani Makari, Gilu Kari Chesa, Chig Cheva, the Zangmaya, which is a Taje.
So His Holiness says that one should first search and methods Dharma practices, different practices of Dharma, different traditions, old traditions, new traditions, whatever, and then and to use one's power of analysis and the reasonings and judge the quality of the teaching, quality of the practitioners, and everything. And when we find what is really the most suitable and beneficial for oneself, then we hold it preciously, hold it in one's hand, not lose it, and then make really good use of it till one gain the fruit that one desires. If you want to build a house, first you go around, see a very good spot, very good location, which is sort of most suitable and agreeable to your mind. When you have found it, agreed the price and everything, then you buy it, and you start building. Then you build the house till it's completely finished, and then you can live in there very comfortably. If you find a nice spot, oh, this is very beautiful spot, you start building, lay a few stones and make a little foundation. Then you see another spot which is also nice. Then you say, oh, that's also very nice. Then you go there and lay a foundation. Like that, if you keep on laying foundations here and there, you fill up the land with all little foundations and stones and rocks. But you will never get your house, and you will never be able to live in a comfortable house for the whole life. So therefore, once we find a sort of valid and a beneficial method, then one should practice sincerely and complete the path. For example, there was a great master who is called Önden Kirgangpa Chenpo in Tibet, who has attained in his very life state of enlightenment through the sort of guidance of Avalokiteshvara. He came much before Jetong Kapa. He was not in the tradition of Jetong Kapa. Before. At first he was a Bon boy. He was practitioner of the Bon shamanism. So then there were great discussions about the born and dharma, and if the born is dharma, it's not a dharma, and so on. Then he got although he was a Bompo, then after some time, then he left this. He wanted to search the dharma, so there was a lot of discussions and doubts about whether born was a dharma, is a practice of dharma or not, and so he gave up his own tradition and he Dzogchen the Chabsuno, Karzong, Kitana, and he gave up his tradition, and then he became the practitioner of Dzogchen, Dzogchen teaching. Right, Shinye Hakoren, Hakoren, Hakoren.
Such a Hakoren. That's all change the Lama Zibo. Me to Jalo Golo Cheding and Gomez Zoshe Abuchizal Duni, Zoshin Shore, Zobachimbo.
And then he went to a teacher who, a Dzogchen master, who is looking very impressive, very powerful, and he went to this Lama and received teaching on Dzogchen. He learned it completely.
Then Kunchabi Dzogchen Chu Yabushi, Dzogchen Chu Chita, Dagunjo Sanzu Tomba Gudu. I thought Dzogchen singing the Tawa Tundo Kabuchi, Tawana Hadanya, Shagan Ludi, that's only Don Gunja Duzana, Tawatella, Puto, and there is so much Medu. Jovan Todu Todu, Kanjum Mojuchang, Dumaya Sumo Goke, Kanjum, the Java Todu, Tajo Kajulo, the Chirindi, Jola Pensa Maris, Te Yushani, and it Keru Chumanaju shall do, ne, and it Keru Chumanaju get loose with church, may go Sumango Chadu Bata.
And then he practiced this, he learned it all because he was a great scholar himself. He practiced the meditation as he was taught, but then at the end he was again not satisfied with the kind of sort of understanding he gained from this particular teaching of Dzogchen, and the kind of view or the realization, the ultimate realization he has attained through this method of Dzogchen. He was not satisfied, and also the people who taught him this Dzogchen, their behavior, he was not satisfied, and with their behavior, how they sort of act ordinarily, how they act actually. He was not satisfied with their kind of behavior, and then he again left this tradition aside, and then he went to another master which is called Chumbul Hapa. He's a great Chumbul Nanjor. He is a great yogi of Mahakala, and from there he received all the initiations and all the methods of Avalokiteshvara from this Chumbul Nanjor.
She do Gong Cho, Yaga Keve, and the Mulu, the Jiva Tawak, Timothy Yudim. Timaya got some Kuranga Lama, Chumudanjo Lama de Tushin Raula Chimbujaga to Shinji. Lama Gini,
and because when he was practicing this his Dzogchen, which his master taught him, then it was sort of meditation which is sort of easy to practice and sort of also easy to understand, easy to realize, but it was not really affecting the delusions, his delusions, like his ignorance and so on. It was not affecting anything on his actual problems, and that's why he wasn't satisfied with this. Then he went and also the method which they were taught was slightly different, as he has studied himself in the teachings, commentaries by the great Indian masters. And then after he went to this master, Chumbul Hepa, who has received his transmissions from great Indian Siddha, Rahula,
Rahula Buddha.
Rahula Gupta was one of the Indian masters. Siddha, from whom this Chungpo. Now, Rahula Gupta was one of the Indian master of this Chungpo Naljot, where he went to. And this Chungpo Lhapa also had another master, which is called Maitriva. Maitriva, he was also a great Siddha of India. And the master of Maitriva is the great Mahasiddha Sharvari. He was a great Mahasiddha, one of the chief Mahasiddha of India, who attained the state of enlightenment in their very life. And so he, with the help of his guru, this new guru, Chungpo Naljot, then he has received all the transmission of the Avalokiteshvara yoga, and he practiced it, and he has gained a direct the vision of the Avalokiteshvara, and then he also, from him came some great masters like Nyadin Bebe Naljot. And so he had a disciple called Nyadin Bebe Naljot, whose disciple was Kedup Sanje Tempa. So there, after him, there were 7 great masters, all of them with very high qualities, and who all have gained some high realization. There are 7 of them came successively, one after another. And the last one is called Nyame Namke Naljorpa, and from whom the Lama Tsongkhapa has received these transmissions. So like that, when one practice, if one search a spiritual path and practice of Dharma, one should very carefully analyze what is most suitable and beneficial for one's mind to overcome the delusions and so on. And so we must find a really suitable and a valid method, and then concentrate on that instead of touching here and there many different paths and methods and so on.
Oh yeah.
So first we are very enthusiastic. We have such a great enthusiasm when we first come into the teaching of Dharma, encounter the Dharma, spiritual path, so enthusiastic, so excited about. We can't wait even a few minutes. One wants to practice meditation and this and that, and take all the vows, whatever is available, whatever exists, and become monk or anything like this, whatever is available. And then after a few months or years, then one break each of the vows one after another. Then one says, I have broken such and such vow, this and that vow. And slowly then again one change exactly like before, if not worse. So this we should be very careful, never let ourselves to be like that, or to follow that kind of process of degeneration. Even if one has broken some vows or some precepts, this is not a reason to then break all the rest. One should still try to restore it or purify the mistake, and confess them and purify the mistake and try to restore it and make it as complete as possible, as pure as possible.
Maranzo Heruka Laju Nalashu de King, Yabri Muchi singing the Amatore, Chumatore, Chumatore, Gayu Majabaje, and the Church, Shadunche, Jomabelama, Chitin Chisegalama Betushe, some Jimachabatari, Yabri Muchi, Seville, or Heruka Pema.
For example, in the lineage guru of the Chakasambara, Heruka, there is a master who is called Padma Vajra, or he is also sometimes called the Precious Father, Yep Rinpoche, Precious Father. So he was, at first he was a monk. He had taken monk's ordination, full ordination. After he broke his monk's ordination, but he didn't behave then crazy, completely crazy, and then start doing all the nonsense after that. Instead, he sort of repented about the mistake he has made, and he tried to purify that, and then he remained as a very he remained a layman, but with a very wholesome life, and then practiced Dharma, keeping all the other precepts and practicing Dharma very sincerely, and practicing Tantra and so on. So he became a great Siddha who attained the enlightenment in his very life, though he broke his monk's vows and so on, but he could restore everything completely, and more than restoration of his vow, he has attained much more than that in that very life, and became master of so many other great masters. So we should, even if sometimes we break some little vows here and there, we should try to follow this kind of example. So therefore we should not make too many of this kind of unreasonable or sort of foolish kind of excuses. Then, oh, I couldn't do that and I broke that. So then one thinks maybe then there's no use anymore to do anything. And so this kind of excuses then fools oneself more than anything else. And there is not any good result. So therefore, even if one cannot be so precise and one cannot practice everything so perfectly, so precisely, however, try one's best with one's ability. If one makes some mistake, repent it and try to purify it and make it better. This way, then one's practice of Dharma will go on progressing. So, for example, if one breaks one's leg, then one should go to a doctor, go to a hospital, and try to fix it, and try to again to put it in order. So, if one's leg is broken, and so with this with this reason, if we break our other leg and also this arm, that arm, everything, and just totally become totally broken, that's very foolish, very stupid. Nobody would do that. And also, when one go to find spiritual master, one should not just run anywhere like a running dog, just wherever there smells of food, just run around there, and then or a beggar maybe who then has to go to many places, wherever, to door, whatever, and to sometimes receive something good, sometimes maybe not very good, but not in that way. One should, even if there are many spiritual masters or so-called spiritual masters who are maybe very famous or who had very high titles and names and this and that, but this we should not take as a reason really to as a reason to prove the real quality or the real qualification or the ability quality of that spiritual guide. Spiritual guide or the master is something very important in which we must rely for all our future to practice Dharma. So we can't just choose anyone. So one should be very careful and analyze even to find a guru or a so-called guru or a spiritual guide. One should be careful about this and use one's power of analysis and judgment, not sort of give oneself to anybody who is called guru.
So it's
only said now he should stop here, otherwise he will spend the whole night with foolish chattering. Anyway, we will have more occasions to chat in the future. Idam Guru